called Reality Check with Craig Price.
Oh, right. Sorry.
I'm an idiot. 4 minutes in and I'm already wrong. I'm like a monkey. Hello, look at me. Craig, shut up.
Hey, I need you guys to do these things.
You're like a beautiful mind. I'm more like Forrest Gump. So, welcome to another Reality Check with Craig Price. We have our first Part 2 episode. This is a continuation of my talk with Alan Cerny with Ain't It Cool News, movie reviewer extraordinaire. On the last podcast, we talked about his life as a reviewer, movies that we liked and we talked about that we'd seen in the past. Today, he's going to come on and talk to us about movies that are coming out in the future. These are movies that are like Harry Potter comes out this week. We got Captain America, which comes out next week. We've got Cowboys and Aliens. We've got Planet of the Apes. We've got all kinds of great movies, and we talk about great movies that are coming out because Alan, in his position at Ain't It Cool News, is very privy to a lot of information that we don't get as mere mortals. We don't get to know what's going on until we see a trailer, and then that's all. And then we maybe see a couple commercials. So we got to piece together things. We got to find out what a movie's all about on our own. Where they fly him out to places and he gets to see movies. He'll see movie previews in Austin where they've got a big mecca and get to see 45 minutes of Cowboys and Aliens months in advance. So he's got a lot of insight to what these great movies that are going to be coming out are going to be like. And hopefully, and it sounds like they're going to be some really big blockbusters, but also quality movies, which is rare that a blockbuster and a quality movie go together. I'll quit wasting time and get right to it. It's the Reality Check Summer Movie Preview Spectacular, and it starts right now. I'm here with Alan Cerny. This is part 2. This one is, we did your reviewing thing, and I really appreciate you being here last week. This week, let's get down to brass tacks.
Okay.
The real reason I brought you here is because I want to talk about movies coming out.
Yes, and I'm happy to talk about
There's
it.
a couple big movies that I am super, super excited about.
All right.
And we'll start off with the first one. We can go down, how would you like to do it? Chronologically?
We can just go down the list here.
Chronologically? We'll go chronologically.
Okay.
You pick out which ones that, I give you a list. You pick out the ones that you feel are relevant, that people should, that you know a little bit about. I know you haven't reviewed them yet, but ones that people are talking about.
Well, there's obviously Harry Potter, which comes out July 15th, and I'm really looking forward to that because I'm a big Potter fan. My wife is a huge Potter fan.
See, that's my wife. My wife is a huge, my wife, Heather Price, she uses the HP symbol everywhere she goes. She read the books. I go with her and we're going to go opening day. She's taking that day off.
Oh, yeah.
We're going in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
We're going like a 12 o'clock show. She's already bought tickets. This is almost a month in advance.
Right.
But I never read the books, so she already knows what's going to happen.
Right.
I have an idea. How have you found the books versus the movies? Because I think the movies are very well done.
The movies are very well done. I love the books more, and I'm assuming everybody who's read the books probably does as well. The thing about the movies that I don't like is that there's a certain character that they've kind of shorted a little bit, and that was Neville Longbottom. But other than that, I think the films are great. I think this last one's going to blow people away, especially, I mean, if you haven't read the books, the stuff that happens in the last half of that book is just amazing. It builds up everything. It brings everything together that's been building up over 7 books. It's a very emotional, powerful ending. And I think if you haven't read the books, don't watch the trailers. Just go in.
Oh, the trailers give a lot?
Oh, this last one that came out yesterday gives a ton.
Don't they usually do that with comedies when they suck? They just show all the 3 funny things, well, but in this case they're...
Well, there's just so much packed in this last film. I know they don't show nearly enough of it, but there's some parts in this trailer that reveal a lot. So
you think they're doing that because they know that the huge majority of people have read the book, so they're not really...
I don't know. I know a lot of people who haven't read the books. A lot of people haven't. And I know they have to sell their film, but honestly, it's Harry Potter. Everybody's going to go. They didn't have to. They spoil it quite a bit in this newest trailer that came out yesterday, and I kind of wish they hadn't gone that way. But it's going to be amazing. I know what happens in it, and there's certain scenes that I'm dying to see on the big screen, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy with that one.
Do you think Radcliffe's going to have a career after this?
I absolutely do. I think that he's a very talented actor.
Because I haven't seen him do any other movies.
Well,
I know it's hard because
he has another film coming out that's I can't remember the title offhand, but it's a British film and it's a ghost story, and he's supposed to be really good in that. But he's been in Equus on Broadway.
Well, he's kicking butt in Broadway.
How to Succeed in Business.
Thank you. With John Larroquette, who just won a Tony for that.
Yeah, he did. And
it was awesome. I wish Larroquette was in more movies. He's
right,
funny.
Right. I think Radcliffe is going to be around for a long time.
Really good, because you see so many. It seems like all those kids, like Emma Watson?
Emma Watson.
She seems to have grown into a viable actress.
Right.
I mean, you never can tell with kids, because, know, the kid from the Tom Cruise movie there, Show Me the Money. What's that one?
I know. Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire.
I can't remember his name
that kid,
right now.
I mean, sadly, he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's Haley Joel Osment, who was the most talented 5-year-old actor to have ever exist. Sorry, Shirley Temple. This kid can't sing, but he's much more talented. Not necessarily a viable
No, but
actor anymore.
These kids are, they've been brought up through, basically, they grew up on the movies.
And they're British. They've got different cultural values.
It's a little different. I think they'll be fine. And I don't know career-wise, but I think they're well-adjusted kids just from what I've seen. And they're not kids anymore. They're men and women. They're grown up.
It's the redhead who's not going to have a job.
Yeah, he's actually been in a lot of films in Britain as well. So, I think that they're all going to be fine. I think they'll all be fine. And I think Daniel Radcliffe's going to be around for a while. Emma Watson's got a few films coming, actually, that she's going to be around for a while. They're all going to be around.
I think those two in particular are definitely, because I have to admit, when you watch, coming just from a movie perspective, I have seen those two really outgrow the other kid.
Right. Well, Rupert Grint has been in other films, too. I think.
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying whether his career, he may have a long career as well.
Right.
He may be the Clint Howard of all these things, and Clint Howard's been in every movie you can think of. But I'm not disparaging his career. I'm just saying watching them act, watching them grow up, and that's what these movies you've literally watched. It's like an experiment. You've seen these kids grow up,
and that's what makes them work so well.
You actually see them artistically and acting skill-wise grow much faster and farther than Rupert.
I think they're going to be fine, and I think that movie's going to be great. I'm really excited about that one.
What's next on the list?
Let's go down the list a little bit. And I'm going to say this right now. People might not be surprised, but there's a film coming out the same day as Harry Potter, Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh's going to be good.
I have to say that they did a great job with the poster.
The trailer is wonderful.
I haven't seen the trailer. Is it CGI or is it old style?
Hand-drawn animation, and I think it looks wonderful.
So it's a throwback.
Yeah, it's going to be a throwback. And I mean that trailer is kind of. I mean, if you grew up with Winnie the Pooh, I think it's going to bring a lot of nostalgia and memories, and it's going to be something you want to take your kids to. I think that one's actually going to be quite good.
Now, that'll be interesting to see because I want to hear the voice.
Well, all the voices sound great.
The actor who did Tigger, I think he's passed on because he was old at the time.
But the voice sounds just like him. I don't know. Because
it's like with the Muppets. I can always tell with the new Kermit.
Oh, yeah, but that movie...
that movie looks awesome. That one's not even on the list because it's so far down the road, so we can talk about it.
I'm going to go ahead and say on the record, The Muppets is the film I'm looking forward to most the entire year.
They do have the best marketing campaign.
Yeah.
They're putting out the spoofs, and I think they've got more down the pike.
Right.
They're pretty much spoofing every movie that comes out at the time it comes out.
Yeah, and but I'm a huge Muppets fan, and I think that film is that's the one I anticipate the most this year, so I'm really excited about that one. Let's go a little further down the list. Okay, we can talk about Captain America.
Is that the next one on the list?
Yeah, I'm not using each film. I'm just
You don't have to,
the big ones.
No, yeah, I got them marked up for you.
Right.
I don't want to talk about. What do we got here? I don't really want to talk about Friends with Benefits. That's what the Kunis and Timberlake.
Yeah.
Two attractive people that I will never meet.
Right.
Upset that they're having sex with each other. I don't care.
You're right.
I certainly understand that. But Captain America,
Well, let me talk a little bit about that because Captain America is directed by a guy named Joe Johnston.
Awesome.
And Joe Johnston's a really good director. He directed one of my favorite films of the 80s. It's called The Rocketeer.
I was just going to say, I think he is perfect for this particular movie. Because The Rocketeer, which is a fantastic Disney
basically
movie.
the Captain America story, pretty much.
Captain America with a jetpack.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's made this film. Well, they screened it yesterday. In the first screening in L.A., from what I heard, people came out just crazy saying it was one of the best films of the year. It's not just a great superhero movie, it's a great movie. And they hyped it a lot.
See, I'm getting scared. I was telling you this, I was getting scared because this is going back to our the Phantom Menace conversation we were having earlier in the last show. The trailers for that couldn't have been better.
Yeah.
Mostly because they took everything from George Lucas away from him, and the marketing department edited it, and he just said yes. Because I think George Lucas is really good at letting other people take his work, and he goes, yes, I'll approve that.
Right.
But when he's in charge of everything, artistically, it gets kind of chaotic.
Right.
So I'm concerned since the trailers look so awesome,
right,
that it's going to fail.
I don't think so. I think Captain America is going to kick a lot of butt. The trailers look wonderful, and like I said, the
cast looks good.
Yeah, the cast is
Tommy
great.
Lee Jones is in it.
Yeah.
How many more Marvel superheroes is Chris Evans going to play?
Oh, I don't know.
He's Human Torch.
He's Human Torch. He is Captain America. Shoot, I don't know. Who else could he play?
Oh, well, they just kind of stick him in.
Right.
He'll probably be the next Spider-Man,
Let's just hope that the Fantastic Four and Captain America don't meet because you have to switch parts.
I think they're different opposing.
Right.
Which is horrible because you would love. You got Spider-Man with the rebooting again.
Right.
Which I certainly hope they don't spend an hour and a half on the origin again.
I'm staying optimistic, but the more I hear, the more I think they're kind of redoing the origin again. And
no, go right to what Bryan Singer did with.
Everybody knows how Spider-Man came to be. I don't think. I mean, if they keep it short and they keep it to the point, I think it'll be okay. I don't really have any knowledge of what that.
Do what Bryan Singer did with Superman Returns.
Yeah.
Superman Returns was a reboot,
right?
And they just assumed everybody knew.
Yeah.
Even though it was like
it's one of those.
We all know Superman. We all know Spider-Man.
We do.
He got bit by a spider. He has girl troubles.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben did.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I'm optimistic about Spider-Man, but I don't know. But I think Captain America is going to blow everybody away. Joe Johnston's going to be a great job. It's funny because the movie's coming out. I actually started getting into the comic books again for Captain America.
See, I grew up reading the comic books.
And there's a certain writer on Captain America, and his name's Ed Brubaker, and he's just blowing me away. I'm reading one of his graphic novels right now for Captain America, and he's great. And a lot of what Brubaker did with the character is what they're doing in the film. They changed a lot of the origin through what Brubaker did in the comic, and
to make it more realistic, though, because there was some of the stuff that they had in the origins was a little fantastic.
Right, and those are just wonderful books, and I think that if they're sticking with that source material, I think they're going to be fine. I'm really confident that's going to be a good film.
Well, I'm really excited about it because it's almost 100%, unless they tack on. I think they're going to tack on like they all do with all the Marvel movies,
right?
Some kind of.
Oh, it's obviously a lead up to the Avengers.
Right, but it's all in the 40s.
Yeah.
It's all, because in my mind, I thought what they were going to do is, half-ass it.
Yeah.
It would maybe an hour in World War II, and then,
Oh, no, it's
the origin of Captain America, next thing you know, he's in the present day.
Yeah, it completely takes place in World War II, except probably for the very end.
Yeah, well,
if you don't know about Captain America, he's a member of the Avengers. And I don't want to spoil it, but he obviously comes back. So
yeah, he's got to come to present day somehow.
Right.
And we won't talk about how it happened because it's kind of a cool thing.
Right.
But that's my concern was, and it was that it was going to be half-assed in mostly World War II, but they're doing the entire movie.
Right. Yep.
World War II.
Yep.
And they've given him. He doesn't have the super rubber suit.
No. It actually looks like a suit. Well, the whole point of Captain America is that he wears this really loud costume, and the reason he wears this loud costume is supposed to scare the crap out of the people he's fighting. It's like, oh my God, Captain America's here. Let's get out of here. The costume actually looks fairly realistic in this film. It doesn't look. It doesn't look like comic book. It looks like something.
Yeah, because you've seen the ones in the 70s, and they're horrible.
Yeah,
it's just god awful.
And I think it's going to be a great movie. I'm really excited about that one.
Well, Joe Johnston, he's a hit and miss kind of guy, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but you know what? I like almost even the films that he did that didn't quite work. There's a lot of it in them that does work.
Batteries Not Included, was that him? Or was that I'm thinking that's Spielberg, but I thought Johnston.
I'm not sure if that's Johnston or not.
Again, I'm not the cinephile. You are.
I can't remember that one. I remember Batteries Not Included. I just can't remember who directed it. But I remember
he did the Rocketeer.
Rocketeer. He did a film called October Sky with Jake Gyllenhaal. He did the recent Wolfman remake. He did Jurassic Park 3, which I actually kind of defend because it's got moments in it that are great.
I hear Spielberg's getting ready to do 4.
Yeah, and I've read about that recently where he's talking to Mark Protasiewicz, who's one of the first screenwriters of Thor, and they're going to talk about, I don't know if it's a reboot or if they're reimagining how they did it. There's supposed to be, a few years back, there's a crazy script from John Sayles where they had these dinosaurs. It was going to be Jurassic Park 4, and these dinosaurs were intelligent and had guns and all sorts of weird crap. It was a really strange script that they were thinking of doing for a long time and didn't happen.
Wow.
So, but the fact that John Sayles had a hand in it is really funny. But I don't know if there's going to be a reboot, or and I don't know if Spielberg's going to be involved in it again.
Well, no, I mean he's the one that says it.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's going to be
he might direct it. But
at minimal, he's going to be executive producer, obviously. But he's a little more hands-on. I mean, there's been he's had a couple flaws. You're a Spielberg expert, and I was reading because you didn't enjoy Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull as much as I did, only because for me, Indiana Jones, and this is where I get fanboy, and this is where I admit my credentials. I would be the kind of person who would be like, but it's Indiana Jones.
Right.
And actually, the first 10 minutes of that movie are Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and the thing about the
rest of it is not.
The thing about the Crystal Skull that really bugs me is that in the original Raiders of the Lost Ark, everybody's doing their stunts, and it's real. They're there. The guy's really under the car. The guy is, Harrison Ford is really running away from a giant ball. And, there's things you just can't fake. And when you see it with CGI, it just doesn't look right.
It looks horribly fake.
It takes away from the tension of the film because you don't think that they're in any kind of danger.
Now, I don't mind the CGI for a movie like Green Lantern where you're on an alien planet. Yeah. But and you're flying and you're doing all kinds of amazing things. But I think they abuse CGI quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think they should just use it for like mats.
Yeah.
If they could just do it for stuff that you can't see.
There's ways to use it. Fincher knows how to use CGI well. David Fincher does it perfectly.
Social Network.
Yeah, Social Network. In Panic Room and Fight Club, and he knows how to use it as an augmentation and not just something to dominate what you're watching. But the thing about the Crystal Skull film that it didn't feel like it was Indiana Jones to me. The character it didn't feel right. I can't really articulate as well as I'd like. Well, a lot of things I had wrong with it. I agree that the first part of the film is actually the best.
Yeah. Well, here's a question that and this will help me understand you. Did you like Temple of Doom?
I love Temple of Doom.
Then I loved it too. I don't understand why it gets such a bad rap.
It doesn't deserve any bad rap.
No, it doesn't.
Temple of Doom is a Saturday matinee film straight out of the 30s.
And it also put in your own proxy. Short Round was for every kid that was watching the show. Because I remember after that, I'm in the woods with my friends. I'm Short Round because everyone wants to be with.
I love Temple of Doom more than Last Crusade. Last Crusade is actually a film I like, but I don't love it. But Temple of Doom, man, it's straight out of the Saturday matinee serial. They just don't cut. Instead of will he survive this or will he survive that? They don't cut there. They just play it all out through, and it's admirable because it's actually a genuinely different film than Raiders.
Well, that's how I can tell whether you really love Indiana Jones or not. Is because people who really love Indiana Jones love Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom is a blast. It's
not as good as Raiders, but no movie is.
No, it's not as good as Raiders. It doesn't have to be as good as Raiders. It's as good as it's its own thing. And the thing about it is, I remember seeing Temple of Doom the first time, and I was physically exhausted at the end of that film. When you come out of it when you're a kid, you're like, holy crap, what else can they do?
Yeah.
He's flying. He's rescuing these kids. He turns evil for a little bit. Then he's fighting this big giant guy, and there's water coming out, and there's a train, and then there's alligators, and
then he cuts the bridge, and then there's
so much, and it's wonderful. It's the best sequel to Indiana Jones or to Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it's a prequel. It's supposed to take place before, and
it's the reason why we have PG-13 movies.
Right, and it's wonderful.
So hopefully I hear that's one of the things they always try to emulate is when because we're going to move on to our next one, which is definitely going to be Cowboys and Aliens.
Yeah.
Which I hope, and I wrote about this in my book. Mm-hmm. When I talk about, I have a negativity book and it's half a glass. I'm promoting it right now. The Realist Guide. I talk about dealing with disappointment. And I used Harrison Ford as dealing with disappointment. Right. It was something I wrote before the Crystal Skull came out. But I incorporated it into my book because it's one of these things. Harrison Ford's career is one of these things that teaches you about disappointment.
Right.
Because he started off when he was a star. We'll start with Star Wars.
Right.
Force 10 from Navarone. I still like.
Yeah, I do.
Because I like Robert Shaw. But who doesn't?
Yeah, Robert Shaw's he's Quint.
Yeah, and then but there was that. Then he went right to Raiders of the Lost Ark and Blade Runner and Witness and Mosquito Coast, which is a movie I love.
Yeah.
that is, I mean, I love Mosquito Coast almost more than a lot of his action movies.
Right.
I wish he would do
great. It's great. I wish he would do more like that as well. Well,
But then he started doing stupid things like regarding Henry, which I blame J.J. Abrams for.
Yeah. That was his first screenplay.
But then I saw he started doing 6 Days and 7 Nights and Hollywood Homicide, and then it was like he started to just unplug.
I like the Jack Ryan films.
Well, those and Air Force One, but you could see where every so often he would like do an action film, but then all the ones he was trying to do in between, just falling hard.
Right, and I don't know what happened. It's strange to me. I think maybe he got comfortable at home, didn't want to come out to Hollywood all the time, because he doesn't live there. He doesn't live in California.
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Yeah, and he probably just went and didn't even look at the project as hard as he used to. And then I think a lot of people. I think he finally realized that because this new film that he's in, Cowboys and Aliens.
This is my hope.
Yeah, he is back. He is in the movie, and I'll tell you what. I don't want to spoil anything, but when you've got a film where you've got James Bond and Indiana Jones punch each other,
well, and you can't. And just so you know. You've actually seen the first 45 minutes.
I have. I've seen the first 45 minutes.
And
it was without special effects. It was just a straight up 45-minute edit. And it starts out from the very beginning of the film right to where the aliens first appear.
So basically, let's just be honest, it's what you've seen in the trailers minus all the great character development.
Right, and it's a great first 45 minutes. It's great, and the reason it's so good is because Jon Favreau didn't make a movie that's a mashup between let's mash the sci-fi genre and the Western genre together. No, he made a Western. Period. And then it's like, well, aliens happen to be in it. It's a Western first and foremost. It's paced like a Western. It's shot John Ford-ish, very large vistas like a Western. It's even got a man with no name type of character in Daniel Craig because he doesn't know who he is. It's a Western. And you're getting Harrison Ford in a Western, and then he shows up on screen. I don't want to spoil it for you, but the first moment he's on screen, you can see he's engaged. The light is on behind the eyes. He is having a good time. And I remember when it played at BNet last year. Jon Favreau and Ron Howard came and they brought it. And at the end, they didn't have time to talk. They had to leave because it was such a tight schedule between films. But I remember standing up and saying, "Thank you. You brought Harrison Ford back again."
That's what that's what I want.
Yeah.
Because I use Harrison Ford in like I said in my presentations. I use Steven Spielberg's Jaws as an example of
perfect film.
Well, it's a perfect film developed. It's the greatest failure of all time.
Right. Exactly.
And I use it as an example of project management failure because they didn't do what they wanted.
Right.
He had to adjust on the fly, which actually made it a better film. And
right.
I always talk about sometimes Plan B is actually better than Plan A, but Plan A is the one that everybody's marketing and putting their hopes on.
Right.
This movie, I hate to say it, is my summer is riding on this movie.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. The first 45 minutes was wonderful, and
Favreau's getting on. I'm warming up to him.
He's a good director. He
did Elf, which is kind of he's got that. He wrote Swingers, which kind of brought him to the forefront. But that Elf movie was like, hey, wait a minute, he might have something here.
Well, the thing about Favreau is that he has a great affinity for actors. Him being one. And the great thing about Iron Man is that even though Iron Man's such a spectacular film with great action scenes and special effects and everything, the first key thing about Iron Man is that you really engage with the characters and the actors because he cares about that first. And all that other stuff is whipped cream on the sundae, but the sundae's got to be the characters, it's got to be the actors, and that's how he is. And that's the feeling I got from Cowboys and Aliens as well. There's a lot of great character actors in it. Paul Dano is in it.
Steve Rockwell, who's a friend of mine from school. Sam Rockwell
is
who
in
is
it.
a fantastic who actually I think deserves more leading stuff.
Yeah.
He's one of the, but that's me. I always root for the Paul Giamattis.
Paul Giamatti's my favorite actor right now. Yeah. So him, and I love Rockwell too. If you've seen Moon, if you haven't seen Moon, you need to see Moon. Moon is awesome. And he's great in that. And it's gonna be great. I mean, you got Harrison Ford riding on a horse and kicking butt, and he actually it starts out. I mean, again, I don't want to spoil it too much, but it's the main character is played by Daniel Craig, who he doesn't know who he is. He wakes up in the middle of the desert.
I don't think you're spoiling stuff because I think this is a lot of stuff you're about to say is in the trailer.
Yeah, he wakes up in the middle of the desert. He's got this strange metal bracelet on his arm. He doesn't know where he got it from. These guys come up to try to rob him, and he beats the crap out of them. And then he comes into town, and apparently there's some bad blood between him and Harrison Ford's character, and Harrison Ford finds out he's in town, and he says, well, I want him. He's my guy, and I don't want to spoil it, but it's
And it looks like Harrison is playing more into his natural personality.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford is a very reclusive, very laconic, very quiet. It doesn't need to be showing out. Yeah, he's married to Callista Flockhart.
Right.
But he's kind of an abrasive grump.
right.
And I think when he plays an abrasive grump, because even Han Solo I thought was an abrasive grump.
Right.
Indiana Jones could be an abrasive grump.
Right.
When he does that and he plays into that, I think that's when he does his best work.
Yeah, and
that's why Mosquito Coast is so awesome.
I think he really does outstanding work here. I mean, the 45 minutes I saw, he's in it for about 15 of it, but the 15 minutes he just nailed it, and you could just tell the rest of the film is going to be wonderful.
All right. And then we're going to move on to another remake. Actually, this is a prequel of a remake. I can't remember the Planet of the Apes movies.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Is that a pure remake?
It's both a prequel and a remake. It's a remake of
because they did Planet of the Apes,
right?
And then there was a Return to the Planet of the Apes,
right?
But then I thought they did a prequel,
Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that was with Ricardo Montalban was the circus guy.
Sure. I'm not. A friend of mine who writes for a website called Badass Digest. His name is Devin Faraci. He is a huge Planet of the Apes fan. I'm not into it as much as a lot of my fellow geeks are. It's mostly because it just passed me by. But
it's also more of a storyline for its times. It's really a story about race relations.
Exactly.
And things like that. And in the 60s and in the early 70s, that was, riots in the streets and stuff going on. So it was much more relevant. We still have those issues now, but not nearly as vivid. But I think Conquest was when Ricardo Montalban was wearing the maroon and the dark vest, and he was like the circus ringleader, and he was showing off the monkey.
Right.
I can't remember. And then the final one was was in the future when they even went farther into the future with the monkeys.
I can't remember it.
It's all right.
I'm not big on.
So this is not. That's why I wanted to ask. This is not a pure remake.
No, it's a prequel. I guess they have these words: prequel, remake, reboot.
Yeah. And
this one's kind of, I guess, a reboot because it shows the origin of how the apes became intelligent, how they ended up conquering the world, and I haven't seen much of it other than the trailers.
I've only seen the trailers.
Yeah, and.
It's got James Franco in it, so it's already got a knock against it.
Yeah, no, I like Franco. I like Franco a lot. He's one of my favorite actors now, actually, yes. 127 Hours is wonderful. It's great, and he's a great
I know he's good in it, but I kind of, quite honestly, I felt the director set him up to be, I didn't think he was that great in it. I thought the director put him in positions that really played to his strengths.
Right, but I think that he plays really radically different roles. I mean, he can play goofy comedies like Pineapple Express. He can play something serious like 127 Hours. He's even on my wife's soap opera, General Hospital.
And that's only so he can go to school.
Yeah, and I like somebody who's versatile like that. And
see, that's my bias again. I told you, there's certain people when I see them, I will give them the benefit of the doubt because he's in Planet of the Apes, and because everything else so far is looking good.
Right.
But
the effects work from Weta looks amazing.
And Weta is Jackson's.
Yeah, Peter Jackson's.
New Zealand's the people do that. That's not Lucasfilm because almost everyone automatically thinks that ILM does everything. But Weta has really come up.
Weta did Avatar, a lot of Avatar, and Weta is probably more. I don't want to say who's bigger and who's not. If anything,
that fluctuates. I think.
Yeah, they're both about even, I would say. But Weta does a lot more work these days.
They're more the up and coming though. Yeah. They've only been around. They just started that for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Well, no, they've been around before that. Weta was actually formed by Peter Jackson because he needed some special effects for I believe Heavenly Creatures. And,
that's right. That's the one right before.
And he did the Frighteners as well.
But I thought Frighteners was okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting film because it's Peter Jackson at the kind of sort of at his beginning. But if you've never seen a movie called Meet the Feebles, and if you're easily offended, stay away. Meet the Feebles is basically Peter Jackson's take on the Muppets, and it's insane.
Tom Arnold's in that, isn't he?
No,
that's Meet the Stupids or something.
This is Meet the Feebles. It's a Muppet movie.
Oh,
it's
is
made
it?
with puppets, and it's one of his very, very first films. It's barely available on DVD.
There's people who are now going to be emailing me because I don't know who the Feebles are.
Yeah, they're it's an insane movie. I died laughing seeing it, but it's not for everybody. If you're easily offended, stay away. But it's one of the movies that Peter Jackson kind of cut his teeth on, and But he made Weta, and then Weta did the special effects for Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I think they look great.
The monkey, the main Caesar, the main chimpanzee, looks amazing.
Well, it's really difficult. They have this thing called the Uncanny Valley, and basically what they call the Uncanny Valley is the more realistic a special effect appears, the less the audience is able to relate to it. That's why when you see CGI creatures and animals, when they make them hyper-realistic, or people even, the audience kind of reflexively backs away from it because it doesn't. There's a cognitive dissonance between what they're showing and what the audience can relate to, and so it's really difficult to make animals like the chimps in Rise of the Planet of the Apes, or dinosaurs even.
Well, I was an extra in Jumanji, so I know that that was back when they were first starting, and those animals didn't look anything realistic. Well, they weren't on the set for one,
right?
But they don't look realistic at all. But this monkey,
they look real, and the thing that Weta does so well is that they can put the life behind the eyes. You can see when you're looking, it's like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. When you're looking at Gollum and you're looking at the creature's eyes, and you can see the emotion that's coming from it. It's not just a simple CGI technology there. You're actually relating to it as a character. And Weta's really good at that. And so I think that they're going to be fine with Rise from the Planet of the Apes.
Okay. Well, we got the big blockbusters out of the way. Is there any movie that is coming up in the next couple months that we obviously maybe under the radar?
We talked about it a little last week. But there's a film coming out the same day as Cowboys and Aliens. It's a very limited release. It probably won't be in Houston, but if it plays really well, it may open up here, and it's called Attack the Block, and it's just a fantastic film.
Actually, it's a foreign film because it's England.
It's England.
Anytime there's it's an English crew and English thing, because we miss a lot of that stuff.
Right.
We really do, and that's the sad part. It's like, what was that zombie movie they did? The 28 Days or
28 Days Later or Shaun of the Dead?
No, it's not Shaun of the Dead. I mean, this one was I think it was 28 Days, and then the sequel was 28 Days later.
28 weeks later.
28 weeks later. Yeah. Those kind of things you don't really see, they kind of sneak up on you because we don't really see a lot of the English.
Right.
That's how whenever you see a Harry Potter movie, it's like every English actor's in it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that's when you get to see the Maggie Smiths and everybody show up.
Right.
And then every once in a while you'll see another like the King's Speech. Mm-hmm. Every English actor who's ever been in a Harry Potter movie is in the King's Speech because there's only 9 of them. It's it's an island.
Exactly.
It's Manhattan.
Exactly.
But so you think this Attack the Block, which it sounds like a sci-fi comedy,
it's a science fiction comedy,
scary sometimes,
horror film. It's basically about these kids who come across this alien, and one of them kills the alien, and then more aliens come down and they attack their apartment complex, and so they have to defend their home. And they're inner city kids, and it's just wonderful. It's so well acted, so well written. It's directed by a guy named Joe Cornish, and it's his first film, but you'd never know it to see the film. And it's produced by Edgar Wright, who did Scott Pilgrim and Shaun of the Dead.
So it's definitely going to have that. Shaun of the Dead I love Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
Simon Pegg's, I love him.
Yeah, Nick Frost is in this. So
not a big Nick Frost fan, but I like Simon Pegg. But I really appreciate you coming on and talking movies with us. You are called Nordling.
Right, Nordling.
Which I believe is like Nordic small people. Is that what where's Nordling come from?
Well, let me tell you, Nordling comes from a D&D character when I was a kid.
There we go. Nerd alert!
Exactly. It's a D&D character, and the name. They asked me what name you want to write under. Well, that's the first thing that came to mind. So
that's great. Well, you go to Ain't It Cool News. You post all the time. You're not even on a schedule. It's like sometimes you're posting 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, it depends. 4
or 5 times a week.
It depends on how much news comes out.
But they should be going to that anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Because Quint's awesome. I love Quint.
Yeah.
And Capone's great.
Yeah.
These are all people I've never met. They're all they're all the only person that has a name.
And they'll
is
have
Harry.
their distinctive voice.
Oh no, it's a great site, and you'll learn all. I'm glad they put the spoiler stuff up there.
Yeah.
You click on thing, you'll know ahead of time.
You know if it's a spoiler, it's marked spoiler on the article.
But if you haven't been to Ain't It Cool News, go now, bookmark it, subscribe to the RSS feed so you just get the stuff right to your Google reader. Great stuff all the time. You do a great job. I really appreciate you spending these last 2 weeks with me.
Thank you. No problem.
Go out to the movies and enjoy your summer. Sounds like it's going to be a great summer for movies. I want to thank Alan for joining me. You can find him on Twitter at NordlingAICN for his Twitter feed. He posts reviews, information, and tidbits. But also you can email me, Craig at SpeakerCraigPrice.com. Tell me what movies you liked, what movies you thought were horrible. You can also leave comments every time we have a post. RealityCheckPodcast.com. See you next week.